psyche of an insane person, and technically we're just insane people. We think that doing the same thing is going to.
Can I ask you?
Going to work in the long run.
I would like to ask a question.
Talk to me, talk to me.
What? Because a lot of times I find like, you know, like I guess you could say we Generation X. Is that what we are? Like whatever, however they label it.
Is it Generation X or millennials?
It's something like that. So a lot of times our revolutionary is in retrospect, right? But can I ask you, like, what was the political climate?
So again.
Yeah, like what was the climate? Yeah, what was the climate on the come up, like for you?
So on the come up, remember we had Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. We had
In the Flesh, yes.
You know, we had you know, the Black Panther movement, the Young Lords. See, the difference was we as a nation of people in our community, we stood for something. Okay, and that's what's missing today. Right. These guys are not willing to die for a cause. They'll shoot each other up in the street all day. But to die for a cause, like, we were like, listen, if this is what it takes for us to elevate our nation, then we're gonna march, okay? We're gonna stand our ground, we're gonna picket, we're gonna boycott, we're gonna let our voices be heard, we're gonna stand in front of the president, the mayors, the governors, and we're gonna let them know we're not tolerating this type of behavior because our human nature is the same as yours. Matter of fact, because our melanin, we're a little more stronger and our adaptability to everything is so swift, and that's why you'll have an issue with us because you're not learned as well as we are learning.
So, may I ask a question as far as what you said, people aren't willing to die for the cause. As we've discussed, do you believe that that's because due to certain amenities and certain things, certain luxuries that have been afforded?
Are we too comfortable nowadays?
Right.
That has nothing to do with amenities. What it has to do with is that missing link, that time period when those drugs were inundated in our neighborhoods and the crack era destroyed, how would I say, a 10-year period of gaining knowledge and raising families, right, has been zapped from us. So we got latchkey kids turn into kids with no latchkey, right? And their parents out here strung out with no upbringing. They sit them in front of a tube, and that's where they got their education from. They bought these video games for them, and now all they know is what they see on video games. So it's okay to go and shoot up and do all of this crazy stuff in the street as they see on the video games. Now they think that's a normal way of behavior.
Domino, motherfucker. I had to give him OG. No, I hear. I'm listening. Go ahead, OG.
That was it.
No, now you know what? I want to. All right, I'm gonna keep it in question form because we're being inclusive. Now let me ask you something. On the flip side of that, do you believe that there's? I mean, honestly, do you believe that there's a bit of an identity crisis going on amidst the elders? Meaning, like, where is the youth supposed to get some of these grown role model-esque type of figures if in jest, I'm not saying all, but in jest, what we can see is trending is TikTok videos and everything with Miss Lady probably 50, 60 years old and all that, like rediscovering the youth, looking all good and all that, the OGs out there with the hoodies on, just like the youth, dressing like the youth, in some of the same circles as the youth, having some of the same dialogue and conversations as the youth, hat to the back like the youth, like, you know what I'm saying? So, can we decipher who's grown from who's, you know what I mean? Like, can we decipher who's who anymore? Like,
so, I think we can, but that's just a small sector.
Yes, that's why I said not all.
There's not a large amount, but because of social media, it's so inundated in social media that they think that that's the way of the world.
But OG, wait a minute, not just social media, let's also look at what's been rewarded, a certain lifestyle. Now, I promise that we wouldn't name names, but you know what, let's just say like 4 out of your 5 top-selling rap artists nowadays are over 40, right?
Right.
And the message is not that different than some of the music and the imagery that they had put out maybe 20 years ago in their youth. So when I talk about that almost...
I disagree.
So, all right, so I'm gonna name name. Is a Snoop Dogg record any different nowadays than it was in 1990?
But
well,
he's not somebody that you would
Is a
view
Puff
as a
Daddy
top-
record
as a-
any
as a
different? I
top-
just heard the new Puff Daddy joint. I like that joint. The joint he got with
Young Miami,
Young Miami, and Ashanti and all that. Is that any different than what? And I'm not saying it's wrong, but like being back to the identity crisis thing, when we start asking, where are the mature images? Where are the people who are focusing on some of the more scholastic and serious elements of the movement that have to be taken care of?
So you
Where are
mentioned
these
two-
examples?
You mentioned two individuals.
Right.
So for Snoop Dogg, he's on a higher learning
You know,
process,
disrespect.
right?
Shout out to
And
Snoop,
what I
man. I
respect
like
about
you.
Snoop is not only do he try to stay current, but he still gives his point of view, right, on what he feels and what he feels is most important for the community. And at the same time, especially with building the label, he's giving all these new artists coming up an opportunity. And not only is he allowing them to do their thing at their level, but he's trying to close the bridge or the gap of the old school and the new school not having a history together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's all I say. So, in my opinion, sorry to cut you off, Wise Yoda, I believe that even in the entertainment realm, there's certain information that's sprinkled in. You can't give out so much information because a lot of times I believe mass media won't push that out there. The whole purpose is to keep you pretty much deaf, dumb, and blind for the most part. It's a form of control, but they will give you certain things that they can give you in order for you to try to get some information and build.
Right.
You know, it's not so much.
What you about to say, Vic?
Here's the objective here, right? Is you made a point to a specific word was build, right?
Bill.
You don't need somebody else to help you build,
Okay.
right? Whether it's a strong foundation, whether it's a business, whether it's a family, okay? If you have a standard of value, morals, and principles based on what you learned, and you know that some good could come out of it, then you build. So whatever they put, I'm just gonna say they, because you know what we're talking about when we talk about they.
We know
Whatever
some.
they put out there for us, we have to get to a point in our psyche that we know that it's just to grab us, to keep us stuck in a certain mode.
Right.
But when we come out of that, right, and we get around our people, we know what the core, right, of the blessings really look like. And we have to stop relying on them for our core. Again, like I always say, where's our banks, right? Where's our firms, right? Where's our stock market, okay? Just because they have their own don't mean that we can't create our own. Okay, Black Wall Street was a perfect example of that, but the nation in itself wasn't strong enough to keep Black Wall Street where it needed to be. So imagine if we had 1,000 Black Wall Streets around the nation. When they decided to burn that town down, believe me, they would have saw some repercussions.
Right. But that was the whole purpose.
And that's not to say there
That was
wasn't
the whole
any
purpose, to
repercussions
burn down
that had.
one town.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know
know,
what happened. What you saying, Vic? Okay.
it's a power dynamic though, because the fact Black Wall Street was a very successful area in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but when they bombed that, when Europeans, it was white people that was jealous of the economic prosperity that they had seen in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they was jealous of it. They looked at them as a threat. You had over 600 businesses. You had airline company, bus companies, cab companies, 25 churches, hospitals, you know. And the difference is though, when they got bombed, they didn't have any most. There was no repercussion. See, if you come and you bomb the United States, the military's coming.
Right.
It's that power dynamic.
Exactly.
Black people we don't have no institutions. We don't control no banks, no military. We don't control no judiciary branches, no legislation. We don't control nothing.
But that's my point, Verge.
Yeah.
Why don't we start doing that? What's keeping us from doing that? Because they already have, and they've already set up government? No.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Yes and no.
See,
There's some
no,
fundamental.
we
There's some
don't-
fundamental differences
Hold on, let me ask you a
between
question.
the
Let me ask you a
tribe.
question.
You know.
If you decide right now to go out there and find some real estate, right, and build a factory on that real estate. What is stopping you from owning that property?
Whoever the state or local provinces is that allocate the land.
Okay, so what's wrong with us creating our own divisions where we allocate that land?
Well, the problem is, in order to do that, we would have to file all our paperwork with the existing aristocracies. So unless we're talking about finding a plot of land somewhere along the borderline of Canada or something outside of their jurisdiction, we always gonna have to ask for permission to have that rally,
But
that
see,
march.
not to cut you off, brother.
No,
That's
no,
my
not at
point.
all, please.
Why do we have to do it here in the United States if we know there's other areas that we can go and obtain those things and become a powerful nation?
So
Where they're borrowing from us, asking for our economic monies and sanctions to be able to do what they need to do. Now we become a force to be reckoned with.
So
but we never taken the time out to establish that. We need, do you know that Back to Africa call?
I was about to ask you about repatriation.
That's a real call. But we gotta be strong enough as a people and stop separating ourselves and dividing ourselves. Because when we go to America and go to Africa, they say to us, "Oh, that's them."
the American.
Right.
Exactly.
We're not inclusive in that nation.
So that's why I was about to ask you, what land right now do we see as prime land for repatriation? What are the possible options for foundational Black Americans? And at this point, after all this work that we done put into this land, why the fuck should we just pick up our stock in this motherfucker and go? We the only one with legitimate reasons besides the other man, you get what I'm saying, to stand here and not be here on work-related visas and go through all these type of immigration issues at every little misdemeanor.
Because we still have not stood up and are willing to fight for what we rightly deserve.
What you about to say, eh?
You know, we built this nation.
Yeah.
Where's the reparation? Nobody's fighting for that.
So my point is, OG, right? Your generation, the ones that preceded, like, were a little bit more equipped as far as unity, the way they approach seeking the knowledge and everything. And look what happened to them. So this day and age where they have little to no access, even though they have more access technically because everybody got a computer on their head,
Right.
to the teachings, right? To the vibes that kept the unity going, that kept the tribe going when they was calling it the natural, not the Afro. They needed to see these type of examples in the flesh. Like, you know what I'm saying? So again, like, where are these examples in the flesh if we're gonna talk about it? That's the only reason why I brought up some of the older artists, because as artists and entertainers, we dictate the times. Could you imagine the 70s and all that without the Ecology album?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, so what's gonna be that song, that movie? You know what I mean? That Lean on Me. What's gonna be that Different World? What's gonna be that these creative bodies of work if the identity crisis, like I said, has the older artists, you know what I mean? In a lot of cases, not all, you know what I mean? Really just trying to moderate the vibe, spoon feed the vibe, in some cases water it down, because like you said, if we put too much information out there, like, that could fuck up some of the brand width and everything. So we're not trying to, like you said, like, when do we go heavy, OG? If the older ones don't do it, how can we expect the youth to do it? They less equipped than the older ones. The older ones, at least some of them got 401ks. Some of these young niggas don't even have health care.
Right. But see,
And they don't care about healthcare.
Right,
They
because they don't understand
yeah.
the importance thereof, because there's always a backlash of somebody else pouring into what they need to pour into themselves. Okay, and they don't see where it comes from. Whether it's the government, whether it's public assistance, whether whatever it is, they're satisfied with that for the moment. But then when they become of age, when they become real adults in their 50s and 60s, and realize that little bit of money ain't gonna last you throughout the month, now you're out there trying to find a way. Okay, and it shouldn't have to come to that. So what I see and what I perceive that we should be doing as a nation of people. So most of the brothers that I grew up with, the ones that didn't make it, are either dead or they still incarcerated. They've done 30, 40, 50 years. You know what I mean? Now we have a new nation that came behind us, and them brothers are doing 15 to 20 to 30. You know what I mean? So we're building on the inside of these penitentiaries, but yet that message is not getting out to the youth that's out here left on their own to survive on their own. So as the brothers come home, okay, that release, that discharge planning should be passed on from each brother that leaves the penitentiary. You know, when you go out with an assignment, this is what you need to do. Get with all the OGs, man. Let's stand for something. Let's build something. Let's build some foundation so we can put this thing back in order.
Not gonna happen.
And I say on the flip side of that, you know what, I'm going to say on the flip side of that, depending on the nature of the crime, of course, but I'm not the one to judge. I would like to see, like, on the flip side of that, when the OGs all coming home from the penitentiary, there be some sort of base in the community to help them with the reparations. You get what I'm saying? Don't just toss them back into society and expect them to function.
Not gonna
It's
happen.
similar to the way we say, like, you know what I mean, with the youth, how would they learn, but or not they have a teacher.
So let me help you.
You know what I mean?
there are
Same
some
thing with recovery.
organizations- There are some organizations, black owned, that are out there and they do that. But check this out. It's about the funding. It's about the support.
Why is it always
It's
about the fund? No, not tripping on you.
Because,
Why are
again-
we having a problem getting money when we are the highest earning melanated people on the planet?
Cause we don't care enough.
'Cause we still
I got my
suffer from-
situation, you got your situation, he got his situation.
But then we can't talk about we don't have the funds to get this shit going when the profit margin for Balenciaga is off the wazoo.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Cut the
Talk about it,
shit.
Vern. Talk about it.
We have the funds. The black community in America spends like almost $2 trillion a year.
Absolutely.
And if you look at what we
Trillion?
spend, trillion.
Trillion.
We spend about
That's right.
$2 trillion a year. Now, if you break it down, it's like 800. It's like 1 billion goes to McDonald's, 800 million goes to Mercedes Benz, another 800 million goes to alcohol. If you look at what we buy things that hold no value. And to me, I believe that's that post-traumatic slave syndrome, because we feel that if the more we buy things, that brings value to us. And I think that mindset comes out of slavery, because that was never remedied. As
Absolutely.
slaves, we never had anything. So the minute that we was free to be accepted by the white man, we wanted to buy things that represented value. So this is why black people will go out and have a Mercedes Benz, but you live in check to check. Because you're trying to impress people that you don't even know.
So in other
It's a
words,
mindset.
they've been controlling our mind
Oh yeah.
all along.
Oh, yeah. It's easier to control the mind. I
Absolutely.
don't need to have you in chains if I
Absolutely.
control your thinking.
Right,
I got you.
because they already had them in chains first.
Well, hold on. I made a point earlier about us having our own, right, and establishing something. And here Verge comes with some economic facts, right, that we do have economic power.
Absolutely.
But the problem is when we see us as a people doing something, instead of us pouring into our own communities, we go outside the community.
Exactly.
Bro,
And that's our biggest issue.
we keep
All the time. We do it on a smaller scale, so imagine the grand scale.
But we
But
have
imagine if we took that trillion, right, and fed all our people, and took care of all our people. Nobody would have to want for nothing. Then a Mercedes could be something that we're building. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That'd be rough, because then everybody would claim that they're our people. That's when the
Well, you
inclusion
know,
comes in.
but see, that melanin in our skin don't lie. I don't
Wait a
care.
minute, though,
I don't
OG.
care if you're 6-part white.
But wait a minute,
Okay? That
OG.
melanin in our skin do not lie.
But wait a minute, OG, I gotta say this though. We gotta remember, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, right?
And that too.
No, but let me land this point, because we can't forget, right? I keep taking it back to foundational black Americans. Like, ain't nobody coming to help us. You get what I'm saying? Like,
And they're not
our
supposed to.
international, no, listen, I'm trying to say this reasoning. Our international brethren and all that, they ain't been slaves as long as us. Over there in the UK and all that shit, Europe, that shit stopped in like the 1700s. You know what I'm saying? Like, we the ones that went to damn near 1967, 1980, 2022 without an anti-lynching bill. You know what I'm saying? So when we start talking what we talk around the world, understand why it goes over certain people's heads. So like you said,
But those aren't the ones that we need to Vince.
Let me land.
It's the millions, the multi-million people who live here in the United States.
I get
that
that,
are still
but
suffering from that.
I get that,
okay?
but OG, why are they still suffering? Because of the selective empowerment. The people that are being empowered, you think because they're melanated, that's your brother. Until you hear them persons open their mouth behind closed doors with some of their investors. You learn the hard way, that's not your brother. So what I'm trying to say is, some of the reason for our hindrance and progression is because we got to get some of these folks up out of position first. They've been in these positions for 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
I get it, bro.
You know?
But still, I hear what you're saying, but we gotta start somewhere.
I get it.
You can't keep saying, well, this one is still in office, or this one is still
No,
in
OG, this is not a new argument. Because listen, you about, not trying to be funny, you OG in this situation, and you telling me the situation with passionate presence. So what I'm trying to tell you, imagine how I feel as your youth. To hear you talk like this, you know what I'm saying? It's only a chosen few that's gonna have the mental capability to be like, all right, we're not vulnerable, we could build beyond this. So like you said, those are the ones we wanna add to the mix. But imagine being of a tribe where the elders are still vulnerable in a lot of senses, like financially, politically. Where the fuck did we just jump off the boat? I went to Catholic school. My peers, they were going to France and shit like that in the summertime. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's a difference in seasoning when you're dealing at the lower end of the economic chain. Like, so this situation is not something that, even though repatriation and all that shit sound great, but I'm trying to tell you, it ain't gonna be the same as your own. We done cultivated this motherfucker. You know what I mean? We done got the walls decorated. We got some ends on the way the shit is designed and all that shit. You know what I mean? So I don't really feel like I'm personally of the brand that I don't feel like we should go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? But maybe there's others that feel different. Maybe somebody will chime in on the comments.
It's going anywhere. It's really truly about us establishing our own, finally, for once, that is not taken from us, and we don't have to rely on somebody else. Let me give you a perfect example. They spoke up to these rap artists who are pretty wealthy, and they in their 40s and above, right?
Yes.
So that lets me know that they had to work for some years to get there.
Most
Right?
definitely. We're not taking that away from nobody.
So they had to establish themselves, and they had to educate themselves, and then they also had to take a level of maturity and humility to be able to have standing power, right? And they feel. So when you look at the Jay-Z's and the Snoop and those cats and wonder why they still around, Ice Cube, Ice-T, and you wonder why LL Cool J, wonder why they're still relevant, my family Method Man, because they use that music as a springboard to get to the next level. And that's where our thinking has to go. We can't say that, oh, I got a 9 to 5 and that's enough. Or, oh, I got a city job and that's enough. I've always, right, and I've showed this to my kids and the cats that hung around me and my kids' friends, and they saw me always on work mode, always about